the meeting to we'll call the meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. This is the Arts and Culture Commission regular meeting for June. We'll begin with roll call.
Chair Ramison,
Here.
Vice Chair Gia,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick,
Here.
Commissioner Moreno, Commissioner Porter, Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Zamora.
Here.
Okay, we'll move on to Secretary's report.
Yes, the agenda was posted Friday, June 6th at 2:01 p.m.
Okay, next we'll move on to approval of this agenda. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Next is approval of the minutes from the May 13th meeting. If anyone had a chance to go through.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, it all looks weird. It all looks good.
Yeah,
Motion to approve them.
Okay,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is public comment for items not on the agenda.
No problem.
All right, we move on to new business. 7.1 is the mural request at the Gilroy Center for the Arts.
Yeah, Commissioner. So we received a request that's continued from the Arts Alliance. Eric V. Vasquez, educator, visual artist, is planning a mural, and I believe is actually grant funded at the Gilroy Center for the Arts building in the back. The Arts Alliance board voted to approve the mural in the back wall of the facility as owned by the city.
Mhm.
So it's up to the commission to make a recommendation to council whether to accept it or not. Commission may also make recommendations as far as changes if the artist is willing to do it. The artist is not able to make it to the meeting today, so Sharon is here if there's any questions. She's here with the Arts Alliance. I have extra printouts if you want a bigger view out the back table of the design.
I know it gets kind of skewed when it goes over
Yeah,
here.
it's got kind of shrunk up by the yeah, and without.
I do have one question about the design. So first of all, I love that that nature can transform us and it has a profound connection between freedom, transformation, and strength. My only question is this sort of a white postage stamp looking section here. Can someone sort of explain what that is or represents in the mural, or is it sort of just a design graphic element?
Not the artist on the mural, and so I don't know that I could answer that. I think it's just part of.
Here.
Oh, there's one here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a message of freedom. I have no clue. That's kind of how I interpret it. It's like postage is usually attached to a letter. A letter is a message.
Communication could be a message. Yeah.
But I think
Is
it's
putting your
lovely
stamp on things.
And
I don't know. I like it though.
Is students at the annex.
Okay. I think some like others
Mhm.
liked it and didn't have a problem with it. And I will make a recommendation on everybody else.
Okay, well,
Is there any words or anything you could share about the design that in your process? Is there any words that you could share about your relationship with the artist or the artist's relationship to Gilroy?
He teaches at the annex, which is the old Antonio Del Oro School. And I think he teaches that to students. So he wanted something for them to do. He came into the Center for the Arts and approached one of our workers, and then they connected him with me. And I said, well, the next time you're at the center, why don't you look at the back wall that faces the parking lot? Because I want that to be a real welcoming feature of the art center. And so when we received the grant from Lowe's, I made sure that the back of the building said Center for the Arts, so that whenever someone came to the parking lot, they'd know, what the building was about. And he was hoping for some like 20 by 20. And when I said, I'll give you the back of the building, it was more than he could ever have hoped for.
Wonderful.
And so he did give me this rendering and said that I asked him if he had worked on murals before, and he said yes, he had. And so he does have that experience. And then I would hope that it would be covered with some graffiti
Right.
covering
Proof.
to protect it.
Do you know the time frame for
Well, he
completion?
wanted to begin earlier, but we have a process that we need to go through. So I think as soon as his students come, first, as soon as we have approval, and then as soon as his students return, which I think is around July or August,
Okay.
he will begin.
Awesome. Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Everybody?
Looks
Inspire, protect, persevere.
I like it.
Any words on, the meaning behind that?
Well, I think he kind of explains that at the bottom of this, the description of the
Right.
mural. And it just seems like so beautiful to me that this would be what you would see when you approach Gilroy from the southern end and in the parking lot, and because that's what art is about, inspiring.
Oh, for sure.
And our whole life preserving. Yes.
And it's our red-tailed hawks, our poppies, our monarch butterflies. No, it's so Gilroy. For those of us that have been here a long time. Yeah, it's neat.
Everyone feels good about it?
Yeah, the design is cool. As long as y'all, as obviously if it's what you like on there, and then that's. I think the design itself is good.
So these are, these items would be formal recommendations.
Yeah.
Full action, so motion second.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we recommend this artwork, the mural at the Center for the Arts, to council for approval. Move forward. All in favor?
I
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
So now we get to move on to another mural request. It's Mural Day.
I love
know,
this.
three of them.
I know. And this is a 7.2 mural request at Los Animas Park Handball Courts.
Mhm.
And I believe we have Joey here to present.
So,
Okay.
Commission, so we received a request to paint the mural Campbell Courts, Sonic Park. Since the project is public art, the design has to be reviewed by the commission. And since it is at a city park, it also has to be reviewed by the commission. But the first stop along the process is this body. Again, this project is coming with outside funding. It's not a city funded project. And so design's been submitted, it's included in the packet. We also printed out a broader version for viewing. At this point, that's the staff's report, and then there's the commission. Arts is here.
So the process will be here, then council, then Parks and Rec, or is it Parks and Rec, then council?
Here, then Parks and
Okay.
Recreation Commission, and then both recommendations are then provided.
Okay. So our recommendation would go to Parks and Rec first.
No, so.
Or ours goes to council.
You'd be recommended to council.
Okay.
But then we would be reporting to Parks and Rec Commission.
As well.
The
Okay.
status is a
Okay.
recommendation from Parks and Rec.
Okay. So Joey is the artist, and would you like to present and just give a little bit of explanation as far as your design goes, and maybe a little background?
Yeah, my name is Joey Castaneda, artist here in Gilroy. I've been for about 18 years. Murals, because I was it speaks to, you know, near and dear to me. I play handball on these courts. I was approaching the project. I already have this image already finished with. I actually was gonna try to bring it to you guys maybe next year. It's a little premature, but yeah, so you know, it was offered to me that this would be a little faster. So with the three images, I tried to make it look as cohesive as possible, make it look more living. I did a lot of extensive research on the handball courts themselves. They were put in the 70s through the Chicano Quinto League. So without their help, we wouldn't have a handball courts at this moment. I'm also aware of that body of land where it sits on. That was actually farmland. Our migrant workers were housed there. So before the park would be put in place, there used to be a bunch of craters. A lot of my elders would talk about like frogs being everywhere. You know, just a place to go play and water. And I went more for like a past, present, future kind of feel. So like, you know, we have more like, obviously you're not seeing a lot of machinery in the first image, like you see today, it's all hand picked, you know, the center photo. And also on the first photo, I kind of wanted to capture coming into Gilroy from north to south. So the hills on the left represent more, right, just where it's facing. The centered image is, you know, I want to reflect on the elders and the newer generations, you know, working together to make things, you know, I think it's important that listen to our elders as well, you know, that's, you know, stuff that they've been through, like we heard, in the last photo, it's kind of like, you know, as if the child who was helping create these, she's now sitting with that elder that helped her, and that's her family that she's continuing on with. So, I mean, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot more that went into it as far as like the color palettes, and the sky, how it's, if you do break it apart into one linear image, it's still all the same sky. You know? So it's kind of more in like a nutshell, but if you guys have any questions.
So I don't know if you've been there to Los Angeles,
yeah.
and then, so, there's also, I don't know how far the walls come that are in between. Are there in between
So
walls?
yeah, so so the left side is a 15. Yeah, 15 by 15 on either side. The center one's a 15 by 30, so I believe about 15 feet. Small gap. 30. It's double.
And they're all facing the same way, or are they facing like around this way?
So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's 15 and it's a double, so it's basically like putting two of those 15 by 15 by 15.
Yeah.
But it's double, so it's 15 by 30 by 15.
Got it.
Are you still playing?
My elbow.
Okay.
What so you said this is kind of in earlier stages. What do you envision ultimately? Is there anything different from what we're looking at now?
It's pretty much solid, you know, like it was already almost done. Like I was starting the coloring before they approached me.
Yeah.
So I had this drawing kind of like slowly chipping away for about, I say more than a year.
Yeah.
At least where I thought maybe I could at least approach, you know, try to get in and try to get it done. But I mean, I'm willing to like, you know, make minor changes, but I think for what it is, I think it's pretty solid.
I agree. Frankly, I just love the amount of thought, the historical research they put into it. All of the thematic past, present, future, and even, you know, considering which side the hills are on. I mean, this is really well thought out and really beautiful. I mean, I personally think it'd be a wonderful addition.
And this is typically a place that has seen a lot of graffiti and things. So I think having this mural will definitely, it'll just enhance the space, but it also kind of deters from anything like that affecting that space. So people tend to really respect murals painted, especially in that area and with such like historical meaning. So I think it's a really great design too.
Yeah, I think this is a really good design, because I know South County Task Force has been like really starting to focus on that park. So I think having something like this as an addition, as a cultural addition to that park would be really helpful for the community, but also just kind of restoring like what like we were saying about kind of respecting the space, having it feel like the community can take ownership of it. Yeah, I echo Commissioner Zamar's comments as well about the design, really thoughtful design, really great work done here. Is there any thought for the while you it's this is a this I because I know you well, this is an interesting one because you are the community through which this is for, right? You played on these courts, you're from Gilroy, like, and so that's beautiful. And so you did a lot of that just through osmosis, right? Through just being here. But I'm wondering if there's any opportunity for the community or like a town hall type of situation where like before you kind of get like paint to wall to have some type of like something like have like an outdoor gathering maybe there in the space, kind of be able to project or share like sheets of your design and see if there's any feedback from the community that might
I really definitely wanted to do that, but I
Yeah.
think just because of the time restraint,
Yeah.
I think that's what it's more about. Because honestly, when I originally wanted to do this project, I was trying to include that in all like,
Mhm.
because I know to me it speaks volumes because obviously like I put a lot of thought into it, but I know a lot of people that have maybe I'm overlooking. So I mean,
when is do you have the time frame? Do you know when this has to go up or when's
Well,
I'm trying
yes.
to do it like the first or second.
So it's really tight.
Yeah, that's a tight.
is there a reason? Is it like a funding rush or was
The one thing I
is-
noticed in here on your design, I didn't know if it was on the coloring of the shirt of the person working in the background. Is it the same person that's the elderly? And then if it's the same elderly, maybe she has the same color shirt. I just think that part could be like,
I think you guys probably overlooked the last image too, their shirt colors on.
Yeah.
matches the shirt colors.
It's more of like, not the elder, but the other four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just thought that too, if it was the elder that was in the beginning one, moved into the second, like almost that person aging through the process too, just to see the connection. But I think it's really beautiful. I love all the colors. It's very vibrant. I think it's great.
So Melanie, would your recommendation be to have the elder in the last picture have
Only
that
if you
magenta?
want to. It's I'm not, yeah, I just think that actual design and everything is great and it's such small details but I think, yeah, however you described it in here too, the context of it, I think it's wonderful.
So I just want to address just a procedural thing, so because it has to go to the Parks and Rec Commission, it won't be approved. Like it wouldn't be approved in time for the council. June, it would go to the very end of July.
Yeah, so they're trying to make that last call the first week of August. Produce it the second, if they, it's like best case.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario. I just want to make sure you understand like the
Yeah.
context. Once council, there's still a lot of like procedural paperwork has to go in, so it's not. I feel that. Yeah, they want to make sure there's no ahead of the documents.
do we know the funders? Who the funders are? No? Oh,
Okay,
okay.
well, is everyone good with
Yeah, this is great.
everything? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve this design for the Los Animas Park handball courts mural to be presented to council for approval to move forward. Is there a second? Ruben, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes. Congratulations. Good job.
Did you want one of these back?
Oh,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, might as well.
I got them in here too.
Okay, we're gonna now move on to item 7.3, public art request at the downtown Paseo.
So brief staff report, so the city received a request from Art Grove Community. I have the same person also with policy for limited product. Which is multi-year initiative. It's described in the staff report. Over the last year and a half, been working with artists to celebrate 20 women identified as making significant contributions. And one of those, hopefully name wrong, Ascension Solorzano. And then the artist is Kathy Aoki. And then it's an augmented reality piece. And so I think actually probably better actually by the applicants in this case. And so I'll wait, there's still gals from the board.
Yes.
We have a presentation to share with you, so.
Yay.
If I have to go jail or
Do you want us to come? Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's go.
Is that okay to
Let's
come?
switch it up.
Will this be fine? Okay.
I'm good, I know. You can see, I can see it, yeah. Unless they diminish the screen.
No, I think you'll be fine.
I mean, because that's a large screen.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I mean, maybe the other thing, the LCD, they have to go there. Because it's the big screen, it's great. No, yeah, it's great. It's great.
My name is Amanda Rawson. I am part of Art Build's community, and we are a following team. We are a consulting firm based in downtown San Jose, and we were hired by the Office of Women's Policy of Santa Clara County in 2020. So right when the pandemic started, to work on the Women in Project. And so the big picture of this project is to celebrate women's contributions to the county through public art. And so during those 3 or 4 years, we really developed a framework of what that could look like with an advisory committee. We did probably talk a little bit about that more in the presentation, but just give you a quick context of it. We learned about women that we never would have learned about had we not done this project, right? We wanted to know who are the women that help the women that help the women. Right? And so that's kind of where we are right now. So thank you. So this is our team. As I said, I'm Amanda Rawson, research director, project manager. Got some support from some of our interns and part-time staff to help with research, help with locations of where the artwork can go, and then partners. I'm here with my colleague, Quinn Nguyen, and she is really our amazing creative director. So really supported the artists on this augmented reality journey. We also have Robert Goldstein, who is got extensive history working as a public art administrator throughout the United States, and Carla too, who's our coordinator. So as I said, we've been working on this project for a number of years now. We have a website, the Womanhood Project, and we have already identified women and worked with women artists in the county to celebrate these women's contributions to the county through different types of public art, mainly temporary, to tell their stories. And you can go to our website and learn more about these particular women and the changes each time you go on there. The squares change the location. Our goal is to create an augmented reality, which will show you 100 pieces, 100 women to be celebrated. We're only at our first 20. So, and that's why we're here today. So, augmented reality really became something important to us because it is temporary, but it also was a kind of a quick turnaround and an opportunity for artists to learn something even different instead of just the way that they've been creating work, but learn another skill. And we started working with Kinfolk, which is a nationally based organization. It's in the East Coast, but they really focus on reimagining monuments. And I love this quote. I'm just going to read it really quick because I think it really speaks to what we're trying to do. Monuments stand as silent storytellers, each one whispering tales of our shared past, serving as a reflection of what we as a society have chosen to value and remember. I think that really speaks to what we're trying to do with this project. So they've come on board, they're working with us and our artists to really make sure that this comes alive. during the project, this is the region, so Gilroy to Palo Alto to Milpitas, we did pop-ups and we asked people to help us understand who's in their communities and why we should know about them. And we did a mapping project where we popped up in different places. Actually, we know that our center because we popped up in front of their tabling during one of the art blocks a couple of years ago and asked, who do we need to know from this area? And we got a number of women. This just happens to be one that we're starting with. So I'll just do a quick intro and then I'll let Quinn take over. But this is Kathy Aoki, amazing woman artist, and she these are the 4 women that she's actually created artwork to celebrate, and one of them is Ascension Soto Solano, but the others are Artemis Inston, Inez Jackson, and Eleanor Cogswell. And those are all women, like big women, women who really contributed to social justice and community. We separated the artworks, the first 20, into different categories. So there's social justice, there's the arts, there's agriculture, and then space and science, technology, one more blanking. But when you go to the website, sports, thank you. When you go to the website, you'll be able to see those as well. So this is Kathy. This is the drawing of Ascension that she created in partnership and conversation with family members of Ascension as well as tribal members. Okay. So this is the marker of which the augmented reality will be able to be accessed. And we brought an example. We didn't bring the specific one, but we did bring one that Kathy has worked on for a different woman. And they're quite large, so they're made out of Dibond material, and you'll see here it has the directions on how to access this. It's available in 16 font, 16 size font, and it has who we're working with, Office of Women's Policy, who we are, who the county is. It shows us Ascension, which is a drawing kind of similar to the artwork that Kathy created, and encourages people to go to the website to learn more about who that woman is, more about her contributions to it.
So this is the augmented reality. When you follow the instructions, which are on the top portion, it prompts you to scan the QR code, which then leads you to download the app, whether it's on your tablet or smartphone, and then you're able to trigger the image of the illustration itself, and it pops up with the AR component, and you can move around, move up close. Kathy, she's a printmaker, she's multidisciplinary, and she has animation experience, but for the series of projects honoring women in leadership, she really went for like a diorama experience, so you can really dive deep and go deeper into the details. For her artwork, she really focused on the plants. She worked with the local tribes to collaborate with them on sourcing the drumming in the background. So that was a collaboration with the community.
How do you live at English and these other plants?
We don't have the scientists currently. We know with this timeline that our deadline with the county is to have it installed by the 16th, but we know that there's a process. And so we have a Timberlake installed in front of our business in downtown San Jose, as you can see in the photo. If you go to the next slide, please. So more in the details. This component of the AR marker, we decided to use markers because we've noticed within our community engagement that there is so much history out there and contributions from women. And there are spaces where they're named after them, but no context or little context. And so especially as we started this project during the pandemic, we were trying to figure out, well, how do we create more access to getting to know these women's contributions. How do we create access to our education, especially when all these things are being under attack? And so we decided to use AR as a way to really make things accessible, but also dynamic. So it's off the wall, not on the wall of the galleries, but outdoors in the environment where they gather. We also include Braille as part of the new Office of Accessibility and Disability. We follow their guidelines, so this is one, I would say one of the few public art pieces or interpretive signage that does incorporate Braille into art. And this is done on top, and then there's a square border around the QR code so that for those who need access to their screen readers, they can access that, scan it, and then visit our website, which will have audio components to the experience as well as their bios, and they can experience it through their screen. So we made it very intentional to include that. In the next phases, we're going to incorporate curriculum. Participating and collaborating with educators as well as schools and districts. And this is 24 by 15 inches. This is 24 by 4.5. So they go on top. And next slide, please. The material is Dicon, so it's very sturdy. It can weather the weather, but it's very easy to maintain. Wipe it maybe 2 or 3 times a year. It's waterproof, it's recyclable, non-corrosive, fireproof, and there's a protective laminate on it, so if there was graffiti, we can take care of that. And for this project duration, we're hoping to have it find a home here in Gilroy for a temporary 5 years. Next slide, please. And some accessibility installation recommendations, if this was we were looking at for this to be in a stand, which I'll show the location in the next slide, but the area should be freely accessible to the public, especially for those who would need a wheelchair to access the space, or people with disabilities. It should be well lit, not directly in the sun. It should be installed at a 45-degree angle so that it's easy to read, but also easy for the wheelchair user to read with Braille as they're moving down. And then also installed at the average eye level of the wheelchair user, which is 40 degrees. This is the location that we're very interested in, but we're also open to your suggestions. We were introduced to this location through this.
Yes, we connected with this museum particularly because the family members had done an introduction, but and the History Museum was very interested in this project because, as you know, I'm sure they do have material on the sense done. And so we came here, we visited, and about 2 months ago, and we walked over there with Matt, with the ladies, and we thought this would be the perfect location. We would love it if you could consider. But as we said, we're more than happy, and the family's more than happy that it just isn't Gilroy. So we know there's a school here that's named after Ascension. We know that there's a trail nearby as well. So in all honesty, I think for us, we really just we wanted to be here. I think it's incredibly important for the community, and we want. I think what we learned during our community engagement is that Gilroy, people from San Jose aren't coming down here, and so we want to help add to that, right? We know that there's a lot of cool things happening here. We see it, we see your run, we see, see the work that the community is doing, and it just would be another great part. So.
Also, if anyone's interested, I brought the iPad with the app so you can view it in person.
For the plants and planters, or right
in between the sign and the plant? Like how would it be, where would it be positioned?
We would be open, but ideally we felt that this location between or is of the plant if possible. We're not sure of what's possible, so, but that location next to the context of early settlers, we thought was very.
Yeah. That was the history. That was also very nice.
I'll just give that one face. Really bring more, more history, more art to. Personally,
Still there it is.
So I would definitely recommend moving.
So I also want to add that we'll include a maintenance manual for it, and so that will include both of our contact information, so that if something does come up with the city, they can reach out to us, so that it gets replaced.
Once it's hopefully installed here, we would like to collaborate with your city to do an unveiling, inviting artists, council, and community members to really experience it. We'll be there to give instruction and really bring more information about the project, but really guide them to the experience too. So they
When installation take place and jump in.
That was nice.
So that'd be into one. There's at least one, there's the council approval, then there's operation considerations because question. So there's other questions that we still need to work on for this council, which is maintenance responsibilities, which of course is not the city installation, which is not. So there's some more logistics that need to be ironed out. Really, what's going to council is, are they approving the concept? They haven't done that. And we're asking council to trust the staff to negotiate and resolve.
We had shared that other locations that we're gonna have to install is the city of San Jose, we're working with the city of Milwaukee, so we really have experience working with other cities and these processes.
I have no comments, but I'm really excited about this project.
Sorry, just, we're probably not making that like.
Oh, yeah.
Go back.
Yes.
Just like, that's pretty far away.
I was wondering, the eyes moved, but I didn't know if it would get us.
It's trying to speak loudly so I can catch some of what I'm saying.
I heard Alice have good hearing.
Okay, Ruben?
Yeah.
You could,
Yeah, so that's very much invested and connected with her story. And actually Kathy was my professor at Santa Clara. So yeah, so when we found out she was working on that project, I shared the resources that I had just finished with the for the mural, so that was pretty cool. And I've worked with Kinfolk on other projects, so their work is really well. So like everything, I could tell y'all have done it right, because there's everything has been checked off. It's like okay. So I see job well done on the execution side and on the design side. So I think as far as I think this is probably going to be, even though this is probably going to be the easiest part of it, the installation, even though there is some things to get done, but I would like to let it be known that I highly support this project, and I hope that I think that's a good spot. The only thing I would say about that spot in particular, which I guess it's fittingly ironic to some extent, is that there is the Camino bell right next to it. Which was a little bit of controversy when it was installed, when that bell was installed. But I think having Ascension there kind of reaffirms really just the the reality in which that we live in. We're kind of the yin and the yang, I guess, of sorts, right? So I think it's nice that we're paying homage to her and that she has such a prominent space there too. So I think that's cool.
Generally, this is just a question on augmented reality because I've done a lot of work in this space. I was helping to build educational apps, and so when AR first came on the scene, it was very much a kind of interacting with the art and kind of creating this augmented experience. So, you know, if you were looking at the placard, then the placard would come to life or would have, you know, information and historical context. And so in this case, there's a step to install an app, and then the app, can they view it anywhere? Or is it connected specifically with the art?
The trigger image on which the app scans is the illustration
Mhm.
of the sandstone. And so once they are able to scan it, they can actually just move around.
Okay.
As long as they scan it once, they can move it. They tap once, it pulls up her bio, related resources, and additional information. And then there will also be an audio component that reads that narrates the text,
That's great.
as well as the artist statement.
And has your experience been, because I'm not sure, you said there's 20 that have already been installed?
It's currently, yeah.
And-
We were
okay.
just, their first day of installation was this morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because my only concern was the extra steps of downloading an app and, you know, if you had done any kind of studies on whether there's a decreased uptake because of that extra step.
I mean, to be quite honest, there's always gonna be an extra step to get you there.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to augmented reality.
Yeah.
We try to make it as easy as possible with, once you download it, it just scans.
Yeah.
And that's that.
So the QR code brings you right to the download, is that how it
Yeah,
works?
it brings you
Okay.
right to your app store.
Yeah.
Whether it's iOS or Android. And you just click download and then you're
Okay.
set. You don't have to sign up for an account or anything.
Yeah.
It's just download, go.
All right, that's.
Yeah, no, we
That's
thought a
pretty
lot
smart,
about this too, of just
Mhm.
how do we make it easy and accessible?
Yes.
And even with AR, we think about what about those who may have who may be visually impaired, and so that's why we have the Braille, incorporate the
Yes.
Braille. We're incorporating the sound, the narration, also the access to the website, so that there will be a video clip of the AR.
Yeah, I think that's
so that they
great.
can view it from there as well.
No, I love all of the elements about really incorporating accessibility and readability for disabled people. So really, really thoughtful work there. Thank you.
The one question I had was about, I guess, the other end, who's hosting the other side of it, and how long is that commitment to host that? So if you're wanting it to be the home to be here for at least 5 years minimum, is there a commitment for the app to be available for that longer, and the actual augmented reality? I don't know how it all works, but I'm assuming it has to be hosted somewhere. It lives somewhere. So the commitment to that side of it,
We are definitely committed.
Okay.
We already announced it in the press, like,
Yeah.
we're committed to launching this first 20 and figuring out a way to do the rest of the 80.
Yeah.
When we reached out to Kinfolk, we actually tried reaching out to them in the beginning, like last year, no response. That's how big they were getting, so busy. And then finally, we were able to get a hold of them. They love the project so much that they want to have a long-term partnership with us.
Okay.
And so we just feel that things are just kind of synchronizing. The partnerships are there, and even though with the current landscape of funding, we still feel confident with our partnership.
Yeah, and I'd say that San Jose State is another location that we're working with, and so we really had to go to different committees and present to them. And they had the same questions that both of you have asked, and we felt still very confident to move forward with us on this project. Another location we're working with is the Computer History Museum,
Nice.
and so
Perfect.
they
Yeah.
were all for it.
Okay.
I think that in itself is a confidence booster.
For sure.
Okay.
We try to be very intentional with the spaces and,
Yeah.
and locations and just the partnerships as well. Especially when it came to community engagement, especially meeting with the families as well.
So that on the temporary aspect, is the 5-year ceiling kind of dependent on community response? If you get to the end of the 5 years and this has been, successful or really well received, would these be a more permanent installation, or would you consider changing out the artist? What's the?
We would love for it to be here forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point it's a conversation with staff and committee, and I think that would be the same for other locations, right? I think a lot of arts commissions, public art commissions will, they'll consider something going into a flagship, so maybe it's a conversation at that point in that way.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm sure that the app itself does collect data of just how many views, so we can use that to apply for future funding. when it's available.
Beautiful. Right.
Do you have any questions?
I just think it's neat, we have a Paseo where you can get exposed.
These things,
That is
yeah.
a very neat creation.
Yeah.
So
So
thank
really,
you for
we
being
were
a part
really
of it.
impressed with that.
Yes.
Say,
And thank you then to be a part of it. So thank you.
Okay.
I need to move forward with council recommendation and to approve the project on our end, the concept and design.
Okay, do we have a second? Neil? All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll move on to old business, and you're welcome to stay, or if you all have to go, you can go. It's up to you. You're not obligated to stay. But thank you all for your presentations, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you guys, appreciate you.
Okay, old business, 8.1, fiscal year 2026-2027 work plan. We can just go in order.
Yeah, so this is a standing item for reviewing the work plan.
I'll just go in order. So for the Love of Gilroy event, we're gonna continue off the pilot program, intro, which was last year. At this time last year, we already had, I think,
Submission?
concluded our
Yeah.
submissions and had the artwork being brought out and voting, and a lot of things were going on already. This year, we haven't had the time crunch necessary to do this, so we have a lot more time. Well, not a lot, but we have time to kind of look through and maybe come up with a different time frame of how we want to do things. So I think that's the biggest thing, is we want to lay out as a time frame for this on
Thank you.
marketing to the community, to the schools. So that kind of outreach in conjunction with the city, so or through the city, so with Rochelle probably using a lot of our
Yeah.
old,
Existing.
existing, marketing. And then when we want to have those submissions close, when we want to review artwork, and then we talked about the banners going up. So production of the banners is 2 weeks, and then when we want to install the banners. We talked about with the time frame of banners going up already, so the light post will have banners for Veterans Day, I believe is the next thing,
Yeah, so it's the whole month of November.
whole month of November, and then it moves to holiday, which then goes up until usually mid-January. So for the Love of Gilroy campaign, we thought of February 2026 being the great time to do it because of, for the love and February,
yeah.
Valentine's Day, kind of maybe.
Art.
And it being a time where there's an opening to keep it up for a little bit longer. timeframe. So, and maybe using that as an annual marker of February being the time to do it. So it gives us a little bit extra time. It gives us time to plan an event for an unveiling again and community event. So and typically a slower time for downtown events. So all in all, I think it's a good time frame. I think we just need to start solidifying like the actual timeline that and working with Bryce on some of the logistics based off of last year's experience and what is best to do and start working, just ironing out those details. But I think all in all, we're still okay on time for that one.
I think, did we say that we needed the marketing by the end of this month? I think that's what we had said.
I think we were trying to, but with that, we need the timeline. So you and I probably and Commissioner Porter need to meet to go over a timeline and then submit that to Bryce probably to see if that works within.
Yeah, we evaluate with all the departments. Make
yeah.
sure we don't have any conflicts.
Okay, cool. Alright, so then.
And how to submit, because the marketing does include all of that. It includes the timeline and includes the submission process. So
So we have, with that, we have the luxury of identifying what service we want to use.
Yeah.
So in talking with finance department, only so typically, since it technically constitutes a bid.
Yeah.
Even though it's not really a bid, so we would use similar type of software at this point as a portal. So we would actually be a test case for the finance department and we'll basically be trying out the software.
Okay.
So we'll have to evaluate software, identify the right one. But again, it comes down to that timing.
Yeah.
When do you want that window open?
Open
Because
and
that
close
would
it.
identify, because you don't want to start and open an account too early and have to sit and pay the fees for non-use either. So we want to make sure the timing is, we have that scheduled down, then we can know when we have that system go live.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll have to go through that. We should probably meet in the next few weeks and kind of get that going, just so that because we have a few different steps, but we do have at least a little bit more time to work with.
Can you repeat just so we can have what the milestones are? So we need to marketing launch, right?
Then it would be submission opening.
Submission open, yeah. Open, and then submission close.
Closing, then we would have commission review and recommendation to council.
That's right. Okay.
And that also, so then when that goes to council, so that goes to council votes, then we have artist notification and
Contracting.
contract.
So last time that about 2 weeks, but that took a lot of us really pushed. So if we can take.
Give a
for
month.
That would be ideal.
And then that also gives me, once those contracts come back, that's when posters would get uploaded for print, for production. Or, I mean, banners for production, that takes 10 days, so 2 weeks time frame. And then we schedule installation for an unveiling and the unveiling event. Yeah, so sometime in February for the unveiling event.
Maybe preferably before
Before Valentine's Day, I would say like the first or second week of February is probably ideal. Before the ski week break.
So if I remember correctly. Yeah, so Valentine's Day is a Saturday. 13th was a date that was originally tossed around against early on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like sometime around there, yeah.
And then, but before submission open, we're just talking about, we need to identify a software.
Like a software.
Like a portal software, right? So we need
A submission software
to.
with the finance department. So that's with them.
So do we want to then
So
start that
basically,
before marketing?
well, you started before
Yeah.
marketing, but we also need to identify when you want to go. Well, so we'll need to know kind of.
Going
kind of the
live
schedule
would-
So we can talk to the vendors and whichever one we end up selecting to know when certain dates of implementation needed.
Yeah. So we'll come up with the dates, we'll look at the dates of when like maybe school starts, and it could even be like a week before school starts or a couple weeks before, so it's still in the summertime
Mhm.
for kids to work on, or maybe it's beginning of August until October, give them a 2-month window. And then go from there, cause then each month, especially if council goes dark, or we do, I don't know, we do definitely in December. But just to kind of work with those calendar months too for meetings.
Yeah, so this year is kind of challenging schedule, so July we have the normal, we'll go dark. If I remember correctly, November is our date lands on
Veterans Day, yeah, so,
we cancel that.
yeah,
And so we can have a special meeting if there's.
and we'll work on, we probably will need to, but we'll, when we get closer, I think we'll need to do one. I have a feeling we'll have to probably review, posters, and we did a special meeting just for review, because it was just easier to do it that way. Something that was just specifically for that, so that might be the time frame for that. But if we needed to, yeah, we might have to look at it, because I was thinking if, depending on council timeframe to approve these, it might need to be in October for us to review. So we'll look at it either way. I think we're gonna have to have a special meeting for review. Okay. And we can move on to multicultural community days. Thinking of maybe 2 events per year as a pilot program.
So I'm gonna kind of blend
Mhm.
a little bit of my update for staff.
Okay.
So in the budget process, what ended up being decided is that there's no general fund money being used for commission activities.
Yeah.
Intent is that the work be done with the Arts and Culture Commission Fund or the Public Art Fund as appropriate. So one of the things that I recommend for the next meeting is financial breakdown and identify, so just kind of identify those costs. So you see what kind of remains available.
Yeah.
So that was city council, because I know that prior to the last meeting, there was gonna be sort of a presentation, and I sent you a kind of a breakdown of possible venues and different organizations like dance, organizations that also have, like, they teach class, they give talks. And so that would be would be dependent, I think, on what their fees are. But was it that council voted that they would not be pulling out of city budget?
And so what that happens, so all the commission, all the city's commissions requests go to the city administrator and identify with the finance department what's feasible, what's not feasible as far as funding, and all the requests. And they do is they make a recommendation then to the council. And so the recommendation was that all the commission's activities would be funded by these 2 funding sources already at the commission's level. So without getting into too much boring detail about government finance, the funds that the commission has access to are trust funds. They're not the funds that are actually budgeted. There's no like appropriation that is common with all the rest of other funds that the government uses. So it's thought that the commission can make it work within the budget or within the funding that's available on those. And then the general fund, what little amount there is, went to a few commissions, but most of it to training. So there's a training amount of money that's available to the commission for use. That would be general fund. But for any actual events or activities, they don't have to come out of the trust funds.
Okay.
So that would be raised through funding, like our own fundraising to
Correct. So
add to those funds, because right now, so we already used a big chunk for the Love of Gilroy last year pilot program.
There's enough, and I'll bring a detailed report, but I think we get around 30-something thousand. So there's enough to do the program for a couple of years before going for exhausting, so no additional money comes in.
Yeah.
So if you just find
But if
that
we
right
want
balance
to,
for-
like our fundraising gala, we would need to use the funds to raise more funds. So, yeah, okay. Just to know that that is, but it's unrestricted at the moment to use, I mean, to a certain extent, for those within our work plan. Okay. Okay, well, that's good. So we might, because of budget reasons, after we look at our financial situation and block out the monies for the Love of Gilroy through 2026, we might move fundraising gala to taking a bigger, over having community days if needed. Because if we need to raise more funds to be able to have the community days, we might have to have a gala before we have those.
Yeah, makes
You know what I'm
sense.
saying? I mean, we
Makes
can
sense.
plan them out and we can start to figure out what the cost would be, but for budget reasons, we might have to evaluate, okay, do we need to have a fundraising event first? To fundraise for these other areas.
Makes sense, makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
So then I will pause on, giving a deeper update then on this,
The
but I was
multicultural
going
days?
to say that, I would call, if there was approval for funding, for the funding requests through council, then I would, move for us to kind of have another, to have a specific meeting together where we really kind of tease out some more.
I think we still
Potential
could have
groups.
it, like, I think as a subcommittee, we
Yeah.
still should plan strategically and like map out what costs would be and potential locations. I mean, a funding source could just come in randomly, you never know, so we should still be prepared with our work plan.
Yeah.
But, I just think it might be that if we need to use the money that's already in existing funds, we might have to do one of these events, the fundraising events first.
Yeah.
But we still need to have it ready.
And you need to know, because you're going to lock up funds, you know how much you're projecting your
To-
costs.
yes.
Right.
To the end.
So we still should meet
Okay,
and,
yeah.
and get that, planned out and really try to find what would be best.
Oh. And
And
we're
so-
going dark in July, right? So we're
Yeah,
just
but we
meeting
could
with
still
all
meet.
this.
Yeah,
Right,
so
right.
it's- that's
Just-
one of the
Our
benefits of the
subcommittees could still meet.
subcommittee structure.
Mhm.
Need a coffee shop?
Well, can do that, or
I
can
could coffee.
Yeah.
If you haven't-
meet in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Have a pool.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
So, yes.
Now we're talking
Yeah.
pool
Sounds like
party.
majority of your
Okay,
committee.
oh, okay. That's a way to incentivize.
Yeah,
doing
right.
something.
So then with that, and then we have the fundraising gala, same sort of thing, we probably need to talk about what the best strategy is for raising funds and having an event that can raise funds. We've been doing a lot of fundraising.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, it's kind of part of the thing with everything. So I recently have had some more ideas that have come to mind that could work for us. It's just the same thing. We can probably meet separately and figure out all of those efforts too. But we have Commissioner Taylor is on ours, so yeah, we have to figure out meeting.
And I know of a location that would be reasonably.
I do too.
We'll
We'll talk about that with commission
Yeah.
updates or art related updates,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we'll do
Okay.
that.
Updating the arts and culture strategic plan, that's gonna be an ongoing, really fun. That's Ruben.
I'm forgetting her name right now. It's escaping me, but she's on the Guild Foundation board, and she used to be the she gave me the entire strategic plan. I'm forgetting her name right now.
Karen LaCourty?
Yeah, Karen, yeah. So she sent over the whole package. She was like, "Here you go," or she was like, "I have the printed packet if you want to like come
Like
pick it up."
2011 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we needed that, I still have to go pick it up from her.
I have it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, you got it.
It's on the
Okay, good.
website, I think,
Mhm.
just
But
the
just the archival, the
Yeah.
smell.
There
of
might
the
be
paper,
extra things writing on there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah. The secrets revealed. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, that needs to happen. I think, with technology now, it seems like we can probably pretty easily.
With technology.
Public art resource document, so creating, I guess, catalog, how would you say that? Cataloging what our existing projects are and then also who artists are from the area.
Yeah, basically a resource guide
Uh-huh,
for
resource guide.
potential builders, so they understand what the public art requirements are, so they know, so they maybe have a list of potential local artists to choose from.
And with that price, is that something that can be put on the city's website, or is that something we would keep separately and upon request provide
So the
once it's created, or how does that work?
most of it can go and is appropriate for the function. One thing we have to explore is the name of artists.
Hmm.
It could be perceived that the city is recommending.
Oh,
artists, and
yeah.
Okay.
It's problematic. So that's the part we have to explore to see what's the criteria, how do you make sure you have everybody on the list? Because if anybody's left off, they can then could make claims while I was intentionally left off, even if it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing.
So do you
that's the
think that our best bet for this project would be first to just catalog what is existing artwork in place?
Yeah, you could, if that's a component the commission wants to have inside that guide, that'd be definitely something to start with. The other thing would be looking at, it's kind of a bigger project. The public art policy really drives a lot of what the developers require, as far as required art.
Yeah.
And that needs to be updated. I think this is where we're talking about having, certainly from the planning department come on side. It's what you need to know on the staff side, who's leading that and when does that work? When do you get with the planning department so we can make sure they allocate our staff person?
So this could be a nice time for us to visit with the planning department or this subcommittee to visit. I mean, I'm just trying to think of what would be the next steps for updating or the public art policy or how that works. Is that with planning
Yeah, I think
in
it'll be,
conjunction?
so I think there's two components. There's one, looking at the policy and seeing issues change.
Yeah.
I think at that point then, once you have a list of, this is,
Yeah.
we know what the policy is in the policy, we know what they're changing. Then that probably have a conversation planning, so that way it's the most fruitful. So they'll have their own ideas about what needs to change. So I'm sure they have a list as well. And so basically at that point, the two bodies, are comparing notes between the planning division and the commission, find out what possible recommended updates we're proposing, and that then goes to the council for approval since it's a formal policy.
So essentially, there's no real subcommittees on this. It was kind of seen as a rolling discussion.
Yeah.
We don't have, our Stevens here today, so.
Yeah.
But I think it could be something that, where would we find the existing public art policy?
It's on the website along with it's the link right above, I believe, the strategic plan.
Yeah,
Right
okay,
above where?
the strategic
Where the
plan.
strategic
Oh,
plan-
okay. Oh, so it's right on the website. Okay. So if we sort of,
And then the
know,
resource
add that to
guide,
the agenda for our next meeting kind of
Yeah.
thing?
I think I'm wondering if meeting with the planning commission or maybe getting on their agenda just to present that this is a work plan item, we're interested in pursuing a resource guide and potentially updating the public art policy. Would we be able to meet with them to say, just to get feedback as to also what would be helpful? I mean, they've met,
I think the first step would be the planning division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can identify, because remember just like our culture commission, the planning commission has a link.
Yeah.
Right, if they deviate too far off or too early, so I think really it would behoove us to meet with the staff first.
yeah, so who
And then
could,
after that, they can identify, well,
okay.
here's what if there is a role for the planning commission in this policy development, they identify, okay, this is the meeting
Okay.
we'll go to, this is how it would have to.
So first step would be meeting with the planning division, staff wise, but how would we go about that?
You let me know what meeting that you're wanting to have them there, and then I'll work with their.
And see if they can come to our meeting, or we,
That's
yeah.
the updated.
okay. I'm just trying to.
I mean, is that the best way to go about it? It feels like, cause we would need quorum and all that, could it just be like a three of us go and chat with?
If the commission wants to sign a subcommittee, so one of the things that came up when we talked about this last was the fact that everybody's on so many committees and the workload, that tension
Yeah.
there. And so nobody wanted to really commit to doing it, so I think there was one, there's a very discussion.
Yeah,
I believe there was discussion about having these part of the regular meeting process.
Yeah.
So when nobody was on the hook for taking charge.
taking in charge.
Again, though, that's entirely the discretion of the commission. If you want to assign a subcommittee to do that, it's totally within your.
Cause this feels like a February thing for me, like,
Mhm.
but I would, because I've already had conversations with Aaron and I'm personally in the process now, working with developers. So it's like I'm living the experience now, and so I'm trying to see, I'm using it as like research basically to kind of bring back feedback of what they've had issues with or what their needs were, and kind of like taking mental notes and notes in general about what developers, what their understanding is, because I'm hearing, because I know our processes, and then I'm asking them to repeat what they think the process is, and then they're kind of giving me the
Yeah,
like what they, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting, that's their understanding, and the only thing is that we have to just be more well versed on the planning side of things,
Right.
which I'm not well versed on, so that's part of why I think it's important, but if, as far as moving this forward, I would be interested in that, but not through the end of this year. Maybe like starting January, February
I think
on my
that's
side,
totally
so,
fine too,
yeah.
moving the process, okay.
If anything, we can, maybe in our next meeting, in August, we can kind of review our own
Mhm.
public art requirements and start, tweaking those. And so that's ready for when we start,
Yeah.
getting into motion, meeting with, planning division staff. And so that way we're all clear on what we want the requirements to be before then getting their buy-in. That to me seems like Yeah.
So
the timing.
it is,
anyways.
but there's a contrast, right? So there's the efficient route and there's the thorough. To do, if you're writing it thoroughly, it'd be receive a presentation from the planning staff about the planning side of functions, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the key things in the existing policy is that the commission is only are required to stop if the planning division, the planning commission condition project to happen with art. If you don't condition the project, then any public art they do is not subject to review law.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and the one challenge you have is that the conditions are not always, really, there's a lot of variability. So you could have two projects very similar, one gets conditioned, one doesn't get conditioned.
Mhm.
Also depends on what the developer wants and is willing to be conditioned on. For it. So there's a negotiation process.
So we need to have a
A little
presentation.
more complicated.
Yeah.
I would love that, like,
I would
we'll
like
start
it
with
to
that.
just do that.
All right, then.
That's way
Yeah.
easier.
I would love that. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think that is the first step,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
and then we can ask questions.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I love.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes
Way
sense
better,
to
way
me.
better.
I thought we were talking about meeting with them and starting the
Starting that
conversation
already.
and like, kind of going through the documents, and I was like, well, I kind of need to know
Yeah,
what
this
I'm
is
doing.
a great, this is a
before
great
we
first
have that.
step, for sure.
So yeah, that's a good first step.
Okay. I think that's it for the work plan, right?
Alright.
Okay, so we will move on to item 9, Gilroy Art-related community event updates.
Yay.
Lots of stuff.
I'll start the La Casa de Cultura y Arte, as I mean, not officially open, but we're in.
Received keys.
We received the keys for the Willie House, so we're there, we're moving stuff. It's still in the works, to finalizing things, of course, but we're hoping for a mid-July opening. So that's our update there. And I'm excited. It's gonna be a community space, beautiful space, so many activities happening there, and I'm so excited for that. So This is on Fifth and Eagle Bear, 145th Street.
A little bit across from the,
From the museum.
museum.
Yep.
So that's on the corner, then it's next to the church.
So it's a city property,
Now it's a
historical,
city
right?
property,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a city-owned
To
property.
redeem it, they gave it to the city.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was quite a,
yeah.
to preserve it.
Exactly.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
It's a
so,
historical, one of
Yes.
the historical
Yeah.
sites for downtown area
Yeah.
vicinity,
One of the
so,
homes,
it was in
Um,
1857.
historic,
I've
but
been
then
learning
they
all
couldn't
the
manage it, what they were trying to do with it. So determined to give it to the city.
Mhm.
And it had no wheelchair accessibility.
And now it does.
I know,
Plenty,
I know.
all
My
over
mother,
the place.
we had to get her way up the steps all the time.
Yeah.
so that's
They're
what
working
Ruben
on
was
it.
saying for fundraising space.
Yeah, there's a great space available.
Yeah, that was right, a manageable spot.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and not have to rent something or.
Yeah,
or
something
whatever.
crazy, you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yep, that's good,
Yeah, so-
good.
Other events, downtown live, so
Starts
music series
tomorrow?
starts
No,
Thursday.
Yes.
So there will be an artist alley is something new that we're gonna just try to include arts and culture. The Downtown Business Association is wanting to include arts and culture in probably every single one of the events downtown. Just seeing the need for and keeping the arts movement going downtown. So found a sponsor that was interested in sponsoring something. So we said Artist Alley. So it's going to be a sponsored space where kind of emerging artists can just showcase their artwork and
So where's that gonna be?
trying to figure out
No,
exactly
don't worry,
where.
if you have-
Gourmet Alley.
Well, that's, I was
Yeah,
gonna
Gourmet.
say, so.
It'll be
the
within
whole-
Gourmet Alley.
Okay,
So right as of
Great.
now, Downtown Live will be on Fifth
Fifth,
Street
right, right.
between Monterey and Eagleberry, and then down
Yeah.
Gourmet Alley. There will be food trucks
Yes.
as long as they met all the requirements.
Yes.
Yeah,
There will be food
They
trucks
should.
and vendors. The vendors that, again, for most of our events or all of our events trying to do will be makers. So also again, trying to focus on really the arts aspect of our vendors that are selling items, that they are makers and have unique kind of products. So it'll be cool. 10 weeks. The only week that will not be in the street will be July 3rd. That will take place inside of Tempo and other businesses downtown. So it'll be a more discover downtown kind of scenario because of the holiday,
the 4th of July.
4th of July weekend and things like that. So, but yeah, that should be exciting.
That's
So
cool.
starting this weekend?
Starting
Thursday.
on Thursday. So every Thursday, free,
10
open
weeks.
to the public, everything. Yeah.
Nice.
So it should be really fun. Anything else? I know there's a third party art
Good
wall.
Friday art walk. Yeah.
Arts Roundtable.
Yes.
Yeah.
that's right.
I was just gonna share something, it is Military Month, so the Veterans of Foreign Wars sponsors art competition, so last evening, we have the girl that won, their high school students that won the state competition. I just want you to take a quick peek at it.
Wow.
This is what she won the state competition, so we'll go to, just take a look at it and you give it back. This is she, and she lives in South San Francisco, but we sponsor it, so very honored. So and this is
Wow.
Gilroy, so Veterans of Foreign Wars and honoring the art that's military related, it's Military Month. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
she will
beautiful.
now go to it goes to Kentucky, she will be in the national competition.
Wow.
That's awesome.
She won the state.
Whoa.
So,
And she's a Gilroy artist?
no, South San Francisco, but it's the region we sponsor it and we select it. Yeah, but there were a couple Gilroy artists that did some placement. The high school, high school.
This is high school. That's crazy.
And her
That's
family came from China in the 90s.
Oh,
Isn't that
wow.
amazing?
It's beautiful.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to item 10. Commission comments, anything additional? I think we all shared.
Yeah.
our commission comments. Okay, staff comments?
Yeah, so a couple, well, I had the budget request, we talked about that one already. So Kylie, as you, sorry.
I know, word right.
Kylie, will be taking more of an active role, so most of the commissions have a staff liaison and executive sponsor. And so, Kylie's joining us now, and team, so now she'll be taking on that staff liaison role. So she'll be running meetings, still be in meetings, still be engaging, but so there'll be two of them, so we'll slowly make that transition, it'll be taking place more in August. And then the only other thing is just a reminder, the only other thing is just a reminder that we are dark in July and August is our next meeting.
Okay,
That's it.
Thanks.
all right.
Number 12. I wanted to wait.
Number 12.
Yeah.
Sorry, future
Uh,
agenda items.
I wanted to see if we can get on August meeting. Zach had mentioned in the last meeting about getting in the 5% on excess monies to Parks and Recs, and we chatted and said that was something that he can now work on over the next 2 years. So I forget what it was called, what agenda that was.
So that's a legislative.
Legislative agenda, yeah. So I was hoping that we could learn more about that process and what that means, because from my understanding, we could potentially try to propose a similar 5% for arts and culture from any excess funds in the way that he mentioned. And so I think that would just come from a discussion and from just learning what that process will be like, because I think it would be, especially if now the feeling is that we're gonna have to take ownership of more of our funds, and that's likely the only place we'll find funding for. So I was hoping that might be something that we can add to the agenda and talk about.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's majority of the other commissioners are supporting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
It's on the agenda. All right.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna add the conversation with the education planning.
Yeah, education.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything that because I asked for that on the agenda, is there anything that y'all can bring to the meeting there, or you already kind of know enough to just talk about it, or like, is there anything that we can have or receive on learning more about what that's gonna look like, or what that?
Yeah, so we put together a staff report.
Oh, okay, got it.
A detailed, we'll aim to try to release it a little earlier than we do.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get it up to you.
Yeah.
It's not terribly complex process.
Okay.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not complex.
Yeah.
So what kind can I identify that for you, but yeah, I can't really talk about it, it's not agendized now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah, and I guess we didn't really discuss fully what the funding, it's not a funding cut per se, but in the past, we've been able to request funds from city council. And is that a temporary or
So you
how many years?
yeah, so they're the first time that the commission, as far as I was successful, got funding from the city council was for the launch.
Yeah.
One time. The issue and the consideration in budget discussions is that the city's operating very thin operating margin.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's if you look at the agenda package, if you have the time and the desire to read a lot of stuff. There's a lot of requests for the commissions on things, and so there was a lot of we're trying to find ways to make things work.
Right.
And so several commissions didn't get that's it's actually pretty typical.
Yeah.
I'm actually like the stuff that got approved this time for me and past previous years was actually surprisingly high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the key difference is that this commission has two dedicated resources. Most commissions.
Yeah.
That is kind of a challenge. The other thing is that again, this commission, along with only the Parks and Rec Commission, are only two commissions agreement without council to do fundraising. So that was a policy that was adopted a year ago. The whole thought is to try to see, the two commissions that have the most public accessible things. Most of the things, building board of appeals, everybody raising funds.
Yes.
But the key thing is that it's for public good, it's things that don't have, the thought is that there's probably more interest in fundraising for those two things than there is in the commission.
Right.
And so this is kind of the test case fundraising knowledge, see, is the fundraising is that a viable funding source going forward? So there's a lot of interest to see. And if that becomes a viable funding source for the commission's activities ongoing, that's perfect because as we know, like as costs go up and then very tax averse community and it's going to be an increasing fund over every dollar.
Right.
So
Thanks.
having fundraising gives you kind of independence. Yeah. So one for example is that we're going to go for the projects and it's funding to use because we're going to council detail investigation.
Right.
He still has to kind of tell like what's going on, and he still has to work detailed to the finance for reporting purposes, but you have a lot more leeway because it's just.
Yeah. Okay. Makes total sense. Thank you.
Okay, good. We're gonna adjourn at 7:59 p.m. Wanted to get it
Still
before
before
8.
eight, still before 8. Yes.
Next meeting is
Clean sheet.
August 12th,
Wow.
Okay.
6:30.
Clean sheet. That was your longest meeting this year.